What would you do if a single choice could save a life but destroy everything you've built? Captain Daniel Holt faced that question on a sweltering July night in 2025, seated in a dimly lit control room thousands of miles from the battlefield. The hum of servers and the flicker of monitors were his only companions as he piloted a drone over a remote village in a war-torn region. His mission was clear: neutralize a high-value target. But as the crosshairs settled on the objective, something felt wrong, terribly wrong. Daniel was no stranger to the weight of his role. At 32, he'd spent a decade in the Air Force, the last 5 as a drone operator. He was good at his job, too good, some said. His precision strikes had earned him commendations, but they'd also left him with sleepless nights, haunted by the faces he'd never seen but whose lives he'd ended. Tonight, though, was different. The target was a known insurgent leader, codenamed Viper, hiding in a small compound. Intelligence was airtight, Viper was there, and the order was to fire. But as Daniel zoomed in on the live feed, he saw movement: children playing in the courtyard, their laughter faint but unmistakable through the audio feed. His headset crackled. "Holt, confirm target acquisition," barked Colonel Grayson, his commanding officer, from the command center. Daniel's fingers tightened on the joystick, his heart pounding. The children were still there, oblivious to the predator circling above. "Holt, do you copy?" "Fire on my mark." The order was absolute, but Daniel's gut screamed otherwise. He'd seen collateral damage reports, euphemisms for lives lost, families shattered. He couldn't shake the image of those kids, their silhouettes dancing in the grainy feed. "Sir, there are civilians present," Daniel said, his voice steady but laced with urgency. "Children in the target zone." "Negative, Holt. Intel confirms Viper is priority 1. You have your orders." Grayson's tone was ice-cold, unyielding. Daniel's mind raced. He could follow orders, press the button, and end it. His career would stay intact, his record spotless. But those kids, they weren't numbers on a report. They were real, their lives as fragile as the drone's signal. He thought of his own daughter, Lily, back home, her smile a beacon in his darkest moments. What if she were down there? "I can't, sir," Daniel said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I won't." The line went silent. Then, chaos. "You're refusing a direct order?" Grayson roared. "You fire now, or you're done, Holt." Daniel's hand trembled, but he pushed the joystick away, disengaging the targeting system. The drone's camera panned up, away from the village, toward the empty desert. He'd made his choice. The fallout was immediate. Within hours, Daniel was relieved of duty, his security clearance suspended. Whispers of insubordination spread through the base like wildfire. Colleagues he'd once called friends avoided his gaze. By morning, he was summoned to a hearing, facing a panel of stern-faced officers. The charge: dereliction of duty. The penalty: potential court-martial, loss of rank, and the end of his career. But then came the twist of voice from the shadows that changed everything. During the hearing, a young intelligence analyst named Sarah Kim stepped forward. She'd been monitoring the same feed, working in the background, unnoticed by most. Sarah was new, barely 25, with a quiet demeanor that belied her fierce determination. She'd seen what Daniel had seen, and she'd done something about it. Without authorization, she'd cross-referenced the drone's footage with real-time satellite data, confirming the presence of civilians. More than that, she'd discovered a discrepancy: the intel on Viper's location was outdated. He'd left the compound hours before the strike order. Sarah's testimony was a bombshell. Captain Holt's refusal saved lives, she said, her voice shaking but resolute. The target wasn't there. Striking would have killed innocents for nothing. The room fell silent. The panel exchanged uneasy glances. Sarah had risked her own career to back Daniel, uploading her findings to a secure server just before the hearing. Her evidence was undeniable, but it came at a cost. She violated protocol, and now she faced disciplinary action of her own. Daniel watched Sarah, a mix of gratitude and guilt churning inside him. He'd acted on instinct, but she'd acted with proof, putting herself on the line for a man she barely knew. The hearing adjourned without a verdict, leaving Daniel and Sarah in limbo. As they left the room, he caught her eye. "Why'd you do it?" he asked. She shrugged, a faint smile breaking through. "Because you were right. And someone had to say it." Days turned into weeks, and the military's investigation dragged on. Daniel was confined to desk duty, his future uncertain. He spent sleepless nights replaying the moment he'd refused the order, wondering if he'd thrown away everything for nothing. The media caught wind of the story, and soon, headlines blared, "Drone operator defies orders, saves lives or risks national security." Public opinion was divided. Some called him a hero, others, a traitor. Letters poured in, some filled with support, others with vitriol. Through it all, Daniel clung to one thought: those children were alive. Sarah, too, faced scrutiny. Her unauthorized data pool had exposed flaws in the intelligence chain, embarrassing higher-ups. Yet her actions had sparked a quiet reckoning within the unit. Analysts began double-checking orders, questioning assumptions. The system, long reliant on blind obedience, was starting to crack. One evening, Daniel found Sarah in the mess hall, sitting alone. He slid into the seat across from her. "They're talking about reinstating me," he said. "Your evidence cites making them rethink everything." She nodded, stirring her coffee. "Good. But it's not over. They're watching us now." He leaned forward, his voice low. "Was it worth it? Risking your career?" Sarah met his gaze. "Was it worth it for you?" Daniel thought of Lily, of the children in that village, of the weight he carried every time he sat at the controls. "Yeah," he said finally. "It was." Months later, the verdict came down. Daniel was cleared of charges, his record expunged, but he was passed over for promotion. Sarah received a formal reprimand but kept her job. The military issued a quiet memo revising drone strike protocols, citing recent operational insights. Viper was later captured in a ground operation, confirming Sarah's intel. The children in the village were never named in the reports, but Daniel saw them in his dreams alive, laughing, free. He returned to the control room, the hum of servers familiar yet different. Each mission now carried a new weight, a reminder that every choice mattered. He kept a photo of Lily taped to his monitor, her smile grounding him. Sarah, too, stayed on, her quiet courage a beacon for others. They never spoke of that night again, but a bond had formed, forged in the fire of a single, impossible decision. Daniel's career survived, but it was forever changed. He was no longer just a drone operator, he was a man who'd stared into the abyss of duty and chosen humanity. The cost was high: his reputation, his peace, his certainty, but the reward was greater. Somewhere, in a village half a world away, children played under an open sky, unaware of the man who'd risked everything to let them live. And in that, Daniel found a purpose worth fighting for.